Hey guys, and in today's video I'm going to be going over 5 simple tips to help you get sub 5 on Pyraminx. So a quick prerequisite, you should probably know at least a V-first method, preferably L4E, before watching this video. I'm not a top first solver, I don't know anything about top first methods, so these tips probably won't be very useful to anyone who's a top first solver. The context of this video is going to be sort of V-first methods. Tip number 1 is block building. So I'm going to be going over different ways you can build blocks and preserve blocks during building the V and when you're forcing easier cases for your last 4 edges. So here I'm going to be doing a red V. So we have red center here, a red center here, and then a red center over here. So we could just move this one over like this and have our V like this. But we also see that we don't only have this green and red block there, but we also have a blue and red block over here. So if we move this one out of the way, this block out of the way like this, then bring this block in like that, then when we bring this block back we have our whole V completed like this. The last case I showed you was all about preserving pre-made blocks. Here I'm going to talk a little bit, obviously these are really simple examples. Most of the time your V's are going to be more difficult than this, but you can still apply the same knowledge to help you make more efficient V's. Here we're also going to be doing red again. So we have our two of our red centers here, and we have the other one over here which is connected to this yellow. So just ignore the other centers. We could be doing yellow, but just ignore that. I'm just doing red for demonstrational purposes. Obviously you want to pick the best V if you're actually in a solve. So here we could just move this down and then we'd have our V and one block here with the red and yellow. But seeing as it's one move away, we definitely want to look ahead and sort of try and actually build some more blocks so that we can have our V completed. So over here there's the red and blue, and it's conveniently facing that way, which means that when we move this up, so instead of just inserting it like this, we're going to move it up, and then we can bring it in like that and connect it and then finish it, and then we've got 2 blocks and we've finished our V. So I've got one last example here, and in this case we've already got our tips and all of our red centers built, and we've even got one block in here which we probably preserved or something like that. So we just need one more edge to be inserted and we will have our V, because this is not in its correct place. We see we've got this red and yellow edge which needs to go in here. So we could just insert it like that, which would give us one of my least favorite cases for L4E. Or if we moved it, because we recognize that when we have a sledge, this will be cycled over to here, then sledge it in, we'll get a much easier 3-move insert to finish. So I'll go over that one more time. So if you've got a piece that matches the center here but isn't solved, when you do a sledge, it'll cycle and move over to where it is solved, which is quite a useful thing if you're inserting a last piece into your V, which means it can give you much easier L4E cases. It can give you like last 3 edge cases because it saves you an edge. So yeah, that's just a useful thing to know when you're inserting or when you should do a sledge to help you build blocks. Tip number 2 is a more general tip about turning and your hardware. So because Pyraminx is different to other WCA events, it's a bit more awkward to turn. People have developed different turning styles, so like a more finger trick based turning style or more wrist turning style. That means that what I want to put emphasis on here is turn how you feel comfortable. So sometimes you might have a V which is more efficient but it's far more awkward to do than another one which is more moves but it's like a lot better for your turning style, and that's obviously going to be faster and safer if you're in competition. So always go with that option. How hardware links into this is you want to get a Pyraminx that suits your turning style. So you don't want something that's too fast and it doesn't really suit your finger tricky turning style or something. You might want something more stable and a bit slower. Get a Pyraminx that suits your turning style. Tip number 3 is about how you practice. What I mean is you want to practice either with a stack mat, or when you're using your keyboard to start your solves, you don't want to be holding the Pyraminx and holding the spacebar. You want to do something like this. Hold it, and then be ready to go, and then pick it up and start the solve. So this is because Pyraminx is quite difficult to pick up because of its shape. It's one of the more difficult puzzles to pick up and start with. It's a lot easier to drop, and also finishing can be difficult if you've got tips and stuff and you have to do some awkward finger trick to do the last 2 moves. So practicing with a stack mat or on keyboard, actually practicing your pickup, is quite important, because once you go into competition, if you've been practicing on keyboard and you've just been holding the Pyraminx, it speeds you up a surprising amount. I've done this, like when I practice, I used to hold it, just like start like this, and it meant that when I would switch to stack mat practice or when I went to a competition, I'd be significantly slower, and that's just because the pickup times, and it's just more difficult to pick it up and get into a sort of good flow. Whereas you can already position your hands like really ready to do the first move if you're starting on a keyboard. So this is important because you don't only want to be practicing your efficiency and your turning, but you also want to be practicing every part of your solve so you can perform the best that you can in competition. Another tip I've got here is be comfortable with your L4E algs. I know for lots of people L4E is kind of 2 steps if you learnt it intuitively. Over time you'll become more comfortable with just using it as kind of more of a 1 step, and it's just 1 algorithm. But at first, if you're not comfortable, you might be doing, like if you have this case here, which I'm doing red, you might just see this piece here, insert, and then, oh, I've got this case, and then do it like that, rather than just doing this, which is a really easy alg. There's often that pause, and it's kind of more of a 2-step, and over time it's important to just sort of possibly even drill some of these cases, look at algorithms, build up your knowledge on how these actually work and how you can do it in a 1 step rather than just mindlessly building a block and then doing your last 3 edge cases, because then it's not really L4E, it's more of just building another block and then doing last 3 edges rather than L4E. Tip number 5 is the tips. I know Drew Brads has a good video on this also, which if you want a more in-depth sort of explanation on this, go watch his video on this. But the general idea is you want to be incorporating your tips into your solve, not just doing them all at the end, because there's no good way to finger trick them. And you can save a lot of time by doing them pretty much at the same time as you're doing other moves, so it hardly adds any time. So here, if I was going to insert this, I would go like that, and then it's kind of like one fluid motion, and then it's like here for your AUF, you could go like that, and you just want to incorporate it into your solution and do it at the same time as other moves. Obviously those were pretty simple cases. Sometimes it's going to be a little more awkward than that, but you don't want to leave them all to the end. You want to incorporate them into your solution so you can save time, because you're doing them at the same time as other moves. Those are my 5 simple tips to help you get sub 5 on Pyraminx. I hope they help. Of course, you just need to practice as well to implement these things. Yeah, I hope you get sub 5, and good luck.